Okay, finally, Steve Sarkisian was asked a pretty good question and an interesting question at a press conference earlier this week by Kirk Bohls, I believe of the Houston Chronicle. He basically said, "Why have you guys underachieved?" And I'll let Sark take it away. Here's the interaction with the reporter and Steve Sarkisian.
Steve, what would you say the main reasons are this team is underachieved?
According to who?
Well, in your preseason number one, I think most people would agree 3 losses is not achieving what you are capable of.
I mean, I guess that's into who voted us number one, okay? What I think is that this team has competed their tail off. They've been faced with a lot of different adversity and injuries, and a lot of stuff has come across this team's plate. And I'm very, very proud of them with their resiliency. At the end of the day, at the University of Texas, we're held to a very high standard. And the standard is to compete for championships year in and year out. And we're going to play the best teams in the country. We're going to schedule the best teams in the country. But by the end of the season, we'll play, of our 12 regular season opponents, 5 of those teams will be top 10 teams when we played them. So nearly half our schedule. And we have an opportunity at the end of the regular season to do something that nobody's done since 2019, and that's beat 3 top 10 ranked teams in the regular season. The last team to do that was LSU with Joe Burrow. So have we been faced with a pretty difficult schedule? Have we been faced with high expectations? Sure, but that's why we came here, so we'll be okay.
I thought that was a pretty mature answer from Steve Sarkisian, and also a fair question from the columnist. I mean, if you're the preseason number 1 team, and you have 3 losses already, and could be 4. They could finish 8-4. They'll probably beat Arkansas this weekend, although that spread's only 8.5. I think they also didn't play very well against Kentucky and Mississippi State. Like, they were very fortunate to win both those games. Arch totally saved them against Mississippi State. Their defense totally saved them against Kentucky. They could have easily lost those games. The win against Oklahoma, I was there in person. It was really impressive. The win against Vandy, I was there in person. It was really impressive. Like, especially the Vandy game, they blew the doors off of Vandy, and then the Doors came back and scored like 3 garbage time touchdowns, including one with like 30 seconds left. Like, that was a blowout of a game. 34-31. That's one of the all-time most deceiving final scores there. It was a dominant win back on November 1st. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is when you have an insane amount of hype around Arch Manning, which is not Arch's fault, by the way. It's not his fault that he's doing a couple commercials because he can make money off it, or his dad, Cooper, thinks it's a good idea. It's not his fault that the media is in love with him, despite the fact that he's only ever played in 3 games and started like 2. The reason there was so much hype on this Texas team is for a couple reasons. Like, I know everyone wants to criticize Sark, and he deserves some. They made back-to-back college football playoffs. They almost beat Georgia. They lost by a field goal and I think overtime in the SEC title game last year in Atlanta. Like, they obviously won a college football playoff game. They are a very, 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 very good program, even an elite program. They just haven't won a national title. And because they have a massive brand and their quarterback's last name is Manning and he was a 5-star recruit, like, we've been over the Arch thing a million times. He's very good. Their offensive line is the biggest issue. Like, that, they can't run the ball, man. They can't fucking run the ball. Like, period. Hard stop. End of story. They can't run the ball. And so when you can't run the ball and you have no balance, the other team gets to tee off on you. And by the way, the score was 14-10 going into the fourth quarter in the Georgia game. I know Georgia blew them out in the fourth, got a couple dudes open, hit some big plays. Stockton really took over. Great player, great performance by Stockton. The depth of Georgia's offense probably doesn't get talked about enough. They have 2 or 3 really good receivers, 2 great tight ends, and 2 really good running backs, and their quarterback's awesome, and their O-line looks a lot better this year. But Texas had like 23, 27 rushing yards on that opening drive of that game. They didn't run the ball at all after that. They finished with like 20 total rushing yards if you account for sacks. They can't run the ball. That's not Arch's fault. That's probably Steve Sarkisian's fault. He probably should have taken Alex Harkey from down the road in San Marcos off of Texas State last year. Instead, Harkey gets paid by Oregon. He's Oregon's awesome starting right tackle. Like, he should have done a better job in the portal addressing the offensive line. I bet if he has a postmortem with his boosters, which I'm sure he does after the season, he's going to say, yeah, we needed, I don't know what happened, but we need to get way better on the O-line. They have Trevor Gooseby. People are going to look at mock drafts. Trevor Gooseby is a very solid left tackle. He's probably going to be a first-round pick. The rest of that O-line is a freaking mess. Jake Murphy, the center last year for Texas, he was like a 4-year starter. He was great. He was probably the most critical piece to their team that no one talked about last year. He was such a good center that the whole line was really good last year, okay? It's not this year. From left guard on over, it's a mess. And their left guard early in the season was like, they were just throwing a bunch of dudes out there. It was like, oh my goodness. That guy who does that really good, super young guy who does that really good line breakdown on Instagram, I forget his name. He just exposed the Raiders offensive line this week and talked about why Ashton Genty is having a bad year statistically. Basically, like, he showed how bad the Raiders O-line was. It feels like it's like that for Texas when they try to run the ball. There's no holes. There were some holes against Oklahoma. They've improved. They had a better game against Oklahoma, which I was really impressed with. Again, they only had 13 offensive points or 17 offensive points in that game because Niblett had one of his punt return TDs in that game. They held up in the pass against Vandy. Their pass protection's been decent, but they can't run the ball. That's their biggest issue. Here's the other thing with Texas, too. Let me check my time. Here's the other thing with Texas. If they don't schedule Ohio State and they schedule Chattanooga, they are 8-2 right now, with losses to Georgia and Florida. They are absolutely getting into the college football playoff if they finish 10-2 with wins over Arkansas and A&M. No question. Now they're 7-3. If they somehow do beat Arkansas and A&M, and they finish 9-3, they probably don't get into the college football playoff with 3 losses. Remember, that's kind of the cut line. Remember, Bama didn't make it last year with 3 losses. They're obviously a lot better than like JMU or whatever G5 team's going to get in. It's kind of pathetic, but I'm all for the G5 getting a representative. And listen, if you have 3 losses, you can't be complaining too much. Like, you have 3 losses. I don't care if it's against Ohio State, Georgia, and Florida. You have 3 losses, so you can't complain too much. But the moral of the story is, like, if you're Texas, the moral of the story absolutely is schedule Chattanooga over Ohio State. And that sucks to say as a college football fan. Like, if they had scheduled Chattanooga and won that game 55-0, they'd be 8-2 right now and probably ranked inside the top 10 still, maybe just outside of it. But they scheduled Ohio State because they had the Stones too. Chris Del Conte, CDC. And that's kind of the situation with Texas. But yes, they've underachieved. The O-line totally let Arch down. I think the skill guys are all brand new. I think it's an amazing front 7. Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons, Ethan Burke, those dudes are nasty. But their secondary is weak. It used to be okay. Taff was holding it together. He came back for the Georgia game. Their secondary, I think, is just officially weak. I do like Malik Muhammad. He dominated the Florida game. He dominated the Oklahoma game. But I think in general, it's kind of a weak secondary, and that was obviously exposed by Georgia. It's not like Georgia could run at will against them. Like, the big play that broke things open was the Humphreys play, and then Stockton runs. It's not like that straight up handoff to the running back was working super well on them. The downfield ball eventually broke open. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good front 7, pretty damn good quarterback. You got a lot to work on in the O-line and in the secondary. I think that's the issue with Texas. And yeah, I mean, based on a preseason number 1 seed, absolutely, you can say they underachieved. Yes, they definitely underachieved. I also think that if they play Chattanooga and they go up, they're 8-2. People are talking about them in a little bit more favorable fashion. And by the way, they barely lost on a 4th and goal to Ohio State in Columbus. It's not like they got blown out. They lost. They were 14-7, and they got stuffed on a 4th and goal, and they gave up a 4th and goal. Like, that's the difference. So, close game there. They have too many faults, though, to be considered a great team. Too many faults. O-line's nowhere near good enough. Secondary's nowhere near good enough. They have too many faults to be a national title team, that's for sure. So, definitely underachieved compared to a number 1 seed. I think expectations will finally be a little more realistic next year. Will they? We'll see. We'll see if people are smart enough to actually have watched the games, or if they're going to try to make Texas number 1 again.